Well, it's been very interesting following the development of television over the last years, because there have been a lot of predictions that people will turn away from television and will go to the internet or will want to do other things with these new media. But what has turned out is people still love television and they watch a lot of television. Television viewing has not declined. But there are a couple of challenges.
What about the youngsters?
Well, even young people still watch television, in the US anyway, as much as older people, as much as they used years ago. As a matter of fact, they watch a little bit more television today because there's so many more channels, there's so many more offerings, and they like to relax and watch television too. So that has not been the problem. And what has been the problem is that because of the many new offerings, that the television audience is very, very fragmented, and the reach, the ratings for each individual show is becoming smaller and smaller, and that makes it more difficult to support the expensive television shows with an advertising model. So that's one of the big issues. The fragmentation of the audience makes it necessary to create programs which are less expensive.
But how do you do that?
Well, one of the things is we have a lot of international cooperations. There are more reality shows now. All kind of things have been done. But the other thing also is that television programs are now being marketed not just on television, but also online. And you can purchase them, and they're on video on demand, and they're being put on DVDs. So it's a whole value chain that tries to recoup some of the cost.
But doesn't it mean that the quality of the programs is lowered and reaching the audience is not as it used to be?
Well, it depends. I think there are some, quality is always a matter of taste, right? And I think audiences can still be created that are large enough to support programs with high production values. On the other hand, you sometimes have programs that are really of a very high quality that just don't cost that much, just as you have movies without big stars that some people say are higher quality. So that does present a challenge, though, and it is something that we are constantly working on, and all the networks are constantly working on, in trying to figure out how to lower the cost and still have a profitable enterprise with these lower ratings.
Yes, but will the number of big television companies be the same in the future?
Well, that's a very interesting question, because what we've seen is at the same time as this fragmentation happened, the number of television companies has increased. There's more and more television out there now, and some people suggest maybe there is too much television. Not only in America, but for example, I heard the discussion in Germany, that some people think there is too much free TV to support the amount of advertising that is available in that market. So that's a really, really interesting, important question to consider. But I think through international cooperation, it is possible to market a lot of nice formats and do it for a lower cost.
More television companies. Does it mean harder competition and lower advertising prices?
Oh yes, the competition has become very, very strong, and yes, I think advertisers have benefited from the enormous amount of content that is available. There's still a premium for programs that reach very large audiences, but increasingly advertisers are turning to the so-called long tail and buying very inexpensive advertising. On the other hand, there are still a lot of advertisers that want to have more control over the cost, over the content in which they advertise. Advertisers still love big events, sport events, where they can have branding and where everybody talks about the program, so that they're in the middle of the discussion.
More control, does it mean product placement?
Product placement is a very, very important factor in the United States. It is legal, it has been for a long, long time. And the kind of product integration that we have now is often very sophisticated. It took us a while to get there, because what's important about product integration and product placement is that it doesn't turn off the consumer, that the viewer actually appreciates it, that the consumer says, oh yeah, that was interesting. So you have to do it right. It has to fit the program, it has to fit the format. It's probably not a good idea to try to have a product placement in a drama where there's a lot of tension and seriousness and murder. Doesn't really fit. But it can fit very well in a reality competition. It can fit very well in an informative program where a lot of products are shown. And we have found that to be of great benefit in terms of the business model, but also the fact that consumers do not reject it if it's well done.
And what about advertising at different media at the same time?
Well, that's becoming a very important issue for us because, as you know, television shows in the US, most of them are now available not only on TV, but also online and increasingly also mobile. And while some people prefer to have content without commercials and pay for it, it seems that the majority would rather not pay and have advertising. And so we are in the process of trying to convince advertisers and showing them data to demonstrate to them that supporting a program, being a sponsor or have advertising on multiple platforms really increases the effectiveness of the advertising and their sponsorship. It's more than just added up. It is a multiplier because it reaches the consumer in different ways, and that seems to be of great benefit to the sponsor.